I'm Gab, he's Jules, Blue Skies over West London. Jules, great to have you back. What a show. It's the magic of the FA Cup. No, it's not. The FA Cup was a big turd this weekend, except for the Arsenal United game.
That's right.
We'll be getting into that in a minute, but I think we have to talk about the Clásico. And Manita, another one.
Again.
Barcelona destroying Real Madrid. And look, we know it's a Super Cup and stuff, and people scoff at that, but this was a Clásico in the derby. And this was something that actually really matters to both these teams and to their fan bases. And it comes at a time when, Barcelona a bit down in La Liga and so on. Man, if you wanted to get a response about how these players believe in Flick and how they want to push on and go beyond all the adversity and the nonsense, this was it.
Yeah, they look obviously amazing from pretty much start to finish, even when they were down to 10 after the Chesney red card and Real Madrid pulled one back to make it 5-2 with half an hour to go. And we thought, okay, maybe there's something.
No.
They still control the game. I mean, I think Real Madrid were super disappointing in the end. Everybody apart from Julien, I guess. That was the only bright point for Real Madrid all evening.
Courtois saved a couple of goals. It could have been 7 or 8.
It could have been 2-0 after 5 minutes for Barcelona. It was that bad. So you're right. Courtois and Mbappe, and then that's it. I think from Carlo Ancelotti's tactics and choices to Vini's form, to Camavinga's form, or Tchouaméni, Rudiger. Let's not go in. I mean, we could go into every individual apart from Mbappe and Courtois, and there was just nothing from this Real Madrid team. And on the other hand, especially the front three of Barcelona were just outstanding.
I'm trying to be more positive this year. And so by being more positive, I don't want us to do the thing where we just go and point out all of Real Madrid's mistakes, because I think we have to give Barcelona a tremendous amount of credit. Even basic things like the Rafinha header where he sort of like sneaks in. Okay, he's unmarked. But still, I wouldn't associate Rafinha with that kind of header from that position. Lamine Yamal, again, that goal where he cuts in from the side. And then how do you have the foresight to do the little sneaky finish? I'm assuming I knew he was going to place it, but I didn't think he was going to place it like that.
Yeah.
So much individual quality, the Casado pass as well. I mean, I look at this and I tell myself, all right, so if they keep Araujo and he's fit, and this team's really, really good. This team can be really good.
Yeah, but we've known that for a while. It's just that sometimes the high line, it doesn't work. Sometimes because they play with so much intensity, they get tired. And we've seen that in all those points that they dropped. When you watch the game yesterday and you don't know La Liga's table, right? And somebody's watching with you yesterday and said, you know what, there's 5 points behind those two teams in La Liga. You think, okay, yeah, Barca are clearly ahead of Real Madrid, and it's the other way around. You're like, okay, how is that even possible? That's how many points they drop against Leganes and against Las Palmas and those kind of teams. But on their day, we've said it before, Gab, they can beat anybody. They're that good.
So on the Real Madrid front, for me, there's 2 people that I would flag up that have to bear a lot of the responsibility. One is Vini, and the other one is Carlo. Vini, I don't want to make it seem like I'm picking on him, but you can't be Mr. Big Game player and then turn in performances like this. You've built your reputation on this. You had a massive sulk about the Ballon d'Or because you scored important goals, blah, blah, blah. This is your game, and if it's not working for you, at least work. At least work off the ball. And we got none. And then you're a passenger.
Yeah.
We can break him down further, but I can't we love Carlo, but
wrong team.
Completely wrong team. Yeah. Even if you feel the pressure that I want to put out all my stars and there's another way to do it.
Definitely.
I mean, this was a game where Ceballos or Modric should have started?
Definitely. You can't go with that front four against a team like this. They're going to open you up, and they did. And they could have scored 10 goals, as you said before.
Yeah, I felt that in a game like this, you want to exploit the high line, so I understand. And you figure if I've got Rodrigo and Vini in there, I can put them under pressure in transition and so on. And Flick will necessarily have to be more conservative. Whatever you're thinking. But clearly, it's not working. And then the individual mistakes on top of that, sure.
Yeah.
But the whole setup was wrong. And maybe Vini was out there too long.
Yeah, maybe he could have changed earlier. But the goals arrived so quickly. Once they took the lead after 5 minutes, and look, maybe it's our game. Then after that, it was just one after the other, just before the break, just after the break. Even when Rodrigo hits the post in the second half and they go on the other hand and score, it was just one of those those afternoons. But for me, Carlo Ancelotti, unacceptable to get it that wrong, because he got it wrong already 70 days ago in the first Clasico that they lost 4-0.
Yeah.
By going more traditional, remember it was kind of a 4-4-2. This time was even worse.
We know Clasico defeats way more. We know you can point to this and say, look, they're 1 point off the top of La Liga. And again, in the Champions League, Courtois stands on his head. Mbappe does something out of nothing. Venus something out of nothing. They can beat anybody, blah, blah, blah. They can win it again. But I think you can dump this all on Carlo. And I don't think there's any question that he could have set up differently in this game. Equally, though, can we agree this is a horrendously constructed team? And this goes back to the Panini sticker approach, because if we're going to go and crucify Tchouaméni, and rightly so, he made a bunch of mistakes. This is a guy who's not a central defender, who's asked to be your first choice center back. Now, David Alaba's on the bench, and you can say, but wow, you could have played Asensio or whatever. Yeah, guys, let's be realistic. You cannot go into a season with this plan. And what we're hearing, by the way, is every indication Real Madrid, oh no, we're not going to sign anybody in January. I think it's pretty obvious that you do need to sign somebody.
We said that.
Right?
Yeah.
To think that I can put all my resources on attacking players. Again, Panini sticker correction. 2 guys who are most comfortable on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And 2 guys who look, Mbappe had one of his better games, one of the few better lights.
Yeah.
He might have scored a hat-trick, frankly, in this game. But equally, you know that this is not how you put an 11 together. Like, I don't obsess over positions as much as others do. But when your 3 main attacking players are all players who naturally go to the left-hand side, in Mbappe, Bellingham, and Vinicius, you can see this in the summer, right?
Yeah. I think there was maybe the idea, and we've heard it a lot through the summer, Carlo will find a way. Carlo always finds a way. He will find a way. And as amazing as Carlo Ancelotti is, one of the greatest coaches ever, he can't just do miracles. There's a moment where there's also limitations with his own squad that he can't transform in a way. So yesterday he got it wrong. He got it wrong in the first Clasico. They've conceded 9 goals in 2 Clasicos now, which is embarrassing in itself and humiliating. But I think he's also trying to find ways. And in this one, I find it really hard that he sat down before the game and think, we're going to play Rodrigo, Vinicius, Julien, and Bellingham, and he's going to be fine. They don't press. They never press. They've never pressed. This is not a pressing team. There's nothing coordinated, even with the ball, outside of an individual moment of brilliance or a transition. Right. They just don't do anything. There's no patterns of play. There's no setup really. Not like we saw Barcelona, for example, on the Lamine goal, which Lewandowski comes short. He plays it in behind for Lamine. All of that. There's just none of that. This is not how this team. This team has never played like that under Carlo. Never, which is fine. It's fine. But then you know your strength and you know your weaknesses. Don't go with a front 4 against a team like this. It makes no sense whatsoever.
This team, and I think back to the first time we Carlo at Real Madrid, and I'm thinking back to when they had Bale and Cristiano, right? And you could argue that, you have 2 guys who aren't necessarily going to bust their backside off the ball, but what they did off the ball was much more useful.
Yeah.
Simply by going into positions where, okay, guy, if you lose the ball, I'm going to be a threat. These guys can't even do that. I mean, and you know what? And Vini, it's pathological at this point, right? This is what he is. And you have to have a big elephant in the room question is whether going forward, whether you stick with Carlo or not, is this good use of my resources having Vini and Mbappe in the same team? Does this actually make sense? Because I either have to teach them to become different players, or at least teach one of them to become a different player, or otherwise, this problem's not going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mbappe could become a really good number 9 in his own way. And we saw yesterday, we said it's probably his best game. The only positive of the game was his performance. But
and Courtois, you always forget Courtois. His bias against Belgian goalkeepers.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
We're talking about the ball
I'm joking.
going forward. the problem is not so much with the ball, although this team cannot just be a transition team. This is bonkers to think that you can win against big teams by just playing on the counter when you've got players like that.
But you kind of have to be, because you don't have Toni Kroos anymore. And, your creative playmaker is Dani Ceballos, who I think is out of contract in the summer and who, is kind of playing by default. So that supports your point. That makes it even worse, right?
Yeah, exactly. But so you'd have to find another way.
Well, sure. Sorry, can I go back to this? Am I crazy to think that Tchouaméni could be a midfield passer if he wasn't also needed in the back?
Yeah,
if he could be trusted with that?
Yeah, I think he can. I think he could get.
But we'll never find out because he has to play center back.
For now, yeah. Let's see when David Alaba comes back or whoever they sign or not sign or something. But this is just like, yes, on the day there could be anybody because they're still individually the best in the world. A lot of them in their positions. Fine. But when you face a strong collective, at some point in the first half, they had 24% of the ball. Before the equalizer from Lamine, they scored in the 5th minute. Then they just gave the ball away and gave up any kind of possession. Let's wait and let's hit them on the counter. It just doesn't work like this. You can't. You're Real Madrid. You can't play like that anyway.
Even if you were going to wait, even if you wanted to play, we have seen Real Madrid play that way at times in the past and do it with success. But you can't do it with Lucas Vázquez, Tchouaméni out of position. When the other team has so many individual match winners, so many people who can run at you and win free kicks or beat you or create overloads, it's not going to happen. And I know the usual people are being scapegoated, right? And I beyond Vini and Carlo, and look, those are the guys who are the two of the guys who are highest paid, have the most responsibility. It's fair to ask more questions of them. But people are not going to pick on Tchouaméni. People are going to pick on Ferland Mendy, who I think has not been good for a long time, on Lucas Vázquez. But guys, who are we talking about? It's almost like this is like punching down when we pick on them.
Yeah.
Like we expect more for how this team was put together, why they were put in that position. And again, your bigger stars not getting it done. I was going to pick on Rodrigo. I was frustrated by Rodrigo, right? In this game. But then again, if I'm Rodrigo, what am I thinking? I'm like, hey, look, I'm the 3rd best left-sided attacker on this team. That is my position, right? Last season, I have to play on the right. Then they sign yet another left-sided player. I'm in the lineup. I'm out of the lineup. I come in. I'm asked to do this. I'm asked to do that. I'm Rodrigo, right? Well, what do I get out of it? What support do I get from my teammates, right?
I know, but you play for Real Madrid. So I think playing on the right for Real Madrid and playing on the left anywhere else, you would always pick playing on the right for Real Madrid.
No, I know, but you're putting guys in these situations, right?
True.
We can go back and play Monday morning quarterback on what we're doing. And obviously, Bellingham didn't have a good game either. And, hindsight, should Brahim Diaz have started on the right? But I don't think it would have made a difference in a game like this. Barcelona were that good.
Yeah, and I just collectively, when Barca are in that kind of mood, with that front three that we mentioned, with the midfield three of Casado, Gavi, and Pedri, who worked so hard. I mean, all the hard work that we saw from Barcelona and the intensity, we saw none of it for Real Madrid. And that's not on Carlo, to be fair. You can play with intensity without pressing super high. The two are different things. And there was neither from Real Madrid, but there was all of that from this Barca team. When they're in that kind of form, and I know when they play against a low block, it's more difficult. When you match the intensity, certainly in terms of being aggressive, it's more difficult for them. So we know how they can struggle and where they struggle. And we know that when they get tired and drop that level of intensity a little bit, then they're vulnerable. We've seen that this season. Yeah. So we know that. But there was just nothing that Real Madrid were ready to do to match that. And this Barca team is just, when they're like that, they're just amazing. They really are wonderful with Araujo starting on the bench. So you're right. When he comes in and plays, and I really hope we don't see Inigo Martinez for a while. I know he's injured, but
come on, man.
It's
the European champion
good.
You're talking about.
Yeah. True. Sorry, Inigo. It's great. And as long as that front three will be in that kind of form, Lewandowski, 26 goals in 27 games, 185 goals in the last 5 seasons. Nobody in the last 5 years in the whole world has scored more than him. Okay. He's 36.
Does that include Erling Braut Haaland?
That does include Erling Braut Haaland.
I will say this. It doesn't mean that it was a good signing when they did sign him.
I'm just saying that at 36.
Right.
But we've seen that with Cristiano, with Ibra, with others. After 30, I don't know what happens in your head when you're a goal scorer, but it seems that you're scoring more than before you were 30.
The amazing thing is, I think of the number of goals he's missed this season.
I swear, yeah.
Would he be at like
Could have
45?
5 or 6 more, yeah, you're right, easily.
In terms of Barcelona, obviously they've been through the Dani Olmo thing. He came on as a substitute, got walloped right away.
Yeah.
I made the point that Dani Olmo, they shouldn't have put themselves in a position with Dani Olmo, a player they did not need. And some people push back and say, oh no, but Gavi, different profile, Pedri, different profile. I'm like, profile this, especially if you're going to play this high line. I think you need that trio in midfield, as you said, that are going to work so hard. And Gavi, Pedri, and Marcotti do that in a way that Olmo does not. And I think there's obviously going to be games where maybe Olmo in there makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think at this point going forward, when I think best 11, I'm thinking Olmo super sub here.
Yeah, I think so. Like Frankie too, to be fair. Yesterday I know Casado is maybe not the most gifted technically and as good as the others in certain aspects of this game, but he's indispensable for this team, just for the work rate and his intelligence on covering space, especially with the high line. And yeah, there will be time where even Casado can't prevent the high line to be exploited. It's normal. Like we've said before, that teams have worked out how to play against them, especially teams that are playing on the counter and not as good as Barcelona. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that front three, as long as they can stay healthy, this team can, the league, because Atletico and Real Madrid are still going to win games in La Liga because they are better than every other team. Yeah. So the title might be still a long shot, although 5 and 6 points is still doable when you have to play Real Madrid at home again and then go to Atletico Madrid. But the Champions League is a competition that you could easily see this Barca team winning, for example.
All right, I'm going to ask a $1 million question. As you know, when it comes to Barcelona, and again, we get pushback, people saying like, oh, you don't win titles for accounting and stuff like that. The reality is they're in a terrible situation. I think they've made it worse with the levers. That said, it's still January. I'm going to go on a limb and say, when I look at this, my concern is Lewandowski, not because he's 36 years old and he scored a ton of goals this season, but he really is the only viable center forward option. And after that, it's Ferran Torres or Dani Olmo. I personally am not opposed to Dani Olmo at center forward.
No,
I don't think it's...
I like to see that. I think he can do it.
But I am wondering, are you in a situation where you might be tempted to take somebody on loan, sacrifice somebody just to get another live body in there so that Lewandowski doesn't have to play every game or a bit of insurance? Would you be tempted if there's any way to find any kind of money in there?
There's no money because they keep to be linking with those big moves for 50, 60
million.
million.
I'm not talking about those stupid ones.
What? How? But I think Ferran is the replacement. So if you ask Flick now or Deco or somebody at the club and say like, hey, why not going for backup number 9? So, well, we have it already. And we are not fans of Ferran Torres. They might be fans or they might just think, listen, there's nothing else we can do. We can't go and sign anybody, not even on loan, and register him. And so I think they will make with what they have.
All right. Final question. We were asked this last night on the show. One game, you can pick one of these 3 strikers. Vini, Lamine Yamal, or 3 players rather, or Mohamed Salah for one game. Who do you choose? I'm curious if your answer is the same as mine.
I'll go for Salah.
That's what I chose too. Great minds think alike.